Why is it important, or why is it necessary to have a podcast where you can use your voice to share your message, to share your advice, to share your experience, to share your knowledge, with everybody else? A number of reasons. Podcast is just another outlet that you can use. There must be multiple ways that you can use to share the one message. You have one message, but you can use multiple channels to release that message that you actually have. So podcasting is actually a very, very brilliant way of doing this, and I'll tell you why. Because of a number of reasons. Podcasting is one of those things that if you plan it well, you can literally, get all your content prepared and set out for long periods and set it to automatically happen. It requires minimal input from you once it's all set up very, in an organized way. Secondly, podcasting is great because I know there's people that struggle with, I don't like to be on video. I don't like to show my face because every time I'm on video, I have to put makeup. Every time I'm live, I have to, I have to kind of have a certain image. With podcasting, you don't have to have an image because it's only your voice that is being visible. You understand that? And here's another thing. Podcasting can actually be done in very inexpensive ways. You could have a podcast running for almost near to nothing. Of course, you might just need a little bit of money for maybe a poster or something like that. But actually, there are platforms that are free to run your podcast. So I will share those with you as well. So I believe for every messenger, everybody that's got a message, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, podcasting is another way that you are able to share your message with a greater audience. And the good thing as well with podcasting, watch, to those people that it's almost just like, YouTube and all of those things. You literally can get people to subscribe to your podcast. Let me give you an example. I'll show you mine. All right, the Joe Benjamin podcast. Right, so wait, let me go into my podcasts. And if you notice, I'm subscribed, of course, my phone is subscribed to the Joe Benjamin podcast. So what happens now when I am subscribed to a channel, what it does, it automatically pings on my phone when my favorite speaker releases a new episode. So I think that's brilliant, so I don't have to I get a notification, boom, like the last one we did, episode number 14, how to start a business with no money. That's Joe Benjamin. It pings off, and you can subscribe to notifications on your phone, which means the people that follow you, every time you release something, they get a notification, and then you get it. All right. More importantly, it's just one of the ways that you can share your message. Now, let's get started. How do you start? Again, I'm going to take you back. I always like, to say this. Start with why. Start with why. There's an amazing book that I read a few years ago that really changed my mind and my thinking. It's called Start With Why. I can't remember the author. I've got the book. Simon Sinek. Yeah. Simon Sinek, a great author. He wrote a book called Start With Why. Now, in that book, he talks about, of course, why is the purpose or the reason or the motivation why you do anything. And whatever you do, if you start with the why, you'll never go wrong. So I'm going to take you to the why. Why do you want to start this? Of course, I want to share my message. All right. Who is your audience? See, so there's all of these things that you want to think about before you actually create and launch out. Who are you going to be speaking to? What are you going to be talking about? Who are you targeting? Because as you shape all of these things before you start, it will allow you to really be able to tailor your message to fit the niche that you are really going to be speaking to. You understand that? So start with why. Why do you want to do it? See, I started the Joe Benjamin podcast, and the reason why I started it because I love to help Christian speakers, leaders, writers, ministers like yourself to share their message with the world. And that's the purpose of the Joe Benjamin podcast. All right. Now, next, you need to think about a name. What are you going to name your podcast? These are little things that you can begin to write down and think. You need to choose the name of your of course, we've talked about your subject. You need to choose the name of what the podcast is going to be called. Now, other people will call the podcast by the name of what it actually does. So, for example, you can get the morning business podcast. You will get the finance podcast. Single mothers podcast, love and relationship podcast, right? You could either call it by the name of what it is that you do, or you can call it by your name, all right, or a unique name. So I chose to go with the Joe Benjamin podcast because it will give me a bit of flexibility, because I do quite a lot of things. I speak to entrepreneurs. I'm a pastor, preacher. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a business person, and I didn't want to have multiple channels and multiple things. I just want to have it all in one place. Those that want entrepreneurship can get it. Those that want ministry can get it. Those that want that can get it from there as well, because my audience is pretty much, the people that kind of follow what it is that we do, follow for those same kind of reasons. So think about a name, okay, that you can use for that. And I also want you to think about the frequency of releasing your podcasts. How often are you going to be doing it? How long are they going to be? For example, I haven't put any, some people say it must be 30 minutes. Nowadays there isn't any real rules to these things. You see, it could be 10 minutes. It could be 15 minutes. My thing is that it must give value. So anything that I put on a podcast really should give value to the listener. It doesn't matter if it's 10 minutes or 15 or 30, right? So you want to think about that. You also want to think about the to plan what it is you are going to be talking about well in advance. Okay? Again, it goes back to start with why. I want you to think about this. What are the problems of the people that God has called you to serve? What are their most pressing questions? What are those things that you feel the people that God has really called you to serve need to learn more about? Okay? Then as you begin to answer these questions, as you begin to really deal with these, you get a lot more content to share on your podcast. All right? When you start your podcast, they want you to have like a little cover, a podcast cover, some image or some artwork of some sort. Okay, so you might need to invest a little bit to get a good graphic designer to do that for you. These are things that we do as well. So you see, everything that I'm teaching you and I'm showing you, these are things that I can literally help you to do as well. So never get stuck. Because we are in this community, you can obviously ask, and I'll be very happy to help you and give you advice and practical help to do those things. So choose your cover, your image, and your artwork. I think I'll show it. This is my cover. All right, this is what I chose. Just a picture of my face, Joe Benjamin podcast, and then that's it. Nice and simple. It doesn't have to be fancy or anything. And then when you do that, let me just say this. You can literally batch create these things. So for example, I always record my episodes maybe 5 at a time, 6 at a time. I have a day that I dedicate to say today is just a day for recording. So I'm in the studio and I'm recording them. And I know what I want to talk about. You understand? I've got my titles and my subjects, some of the things, the questions that students, people have asked me on social media, and I'm dealing with those, see? So you want to have that subject or subjects or questions that you want to talk about. And then record all of them well in advance. I mean, you can literally record just depending on your frequency. I do mine once a week, and I recommend at least once a week is a good sort of time frame so that you get some traction and people begin to hear the message, people begin to hear what it is that you're saying. Once a week, I think, is a good time. So pick a day in the week, maybe every Wednesday, every Sunday, whatever, and it's all pre-recorded and triggered and set to automatically be released on the day that you so choose. So it's very easy to do this. I mean, you don't have to be uploading something every day or every week. You can literally record them 3 months in advance, a year in advance if you like, and then they just automatically get triggered. Now, when it comes to the practicalities, let's talk about the platforms that you can use. If you want to go for free podcasting platforms, I'll recommend 2, and these are some that I've actually tried to use myself before. Anchor, Anchor. Anchor is one of them. It's a free podcasting platform, and I think it's one of the best for the free ones. When you look at all the benefits and things like that, then there's another one called Spreaker. Okay, Spreaker. Spreaker, Spreaker, okay? And lastly, Podbean. These are free ones, okay? But Anchor being my favorite for the free ones. However, if you want something that you can pay for, and I pay for my one, it's not a lot of money. I think $15 a month or something like that. It's Libsyn. Okay, Libsyn is an amazing platform because of the wide range of things that you can do and also the amount of bandwidth and storage that you have in there. So I think for about $15 or $20, I think, a month, that's all I have to pay for to get the podcast running. So we've talked about the services. Now let's talk about the equipment. All right. Let me say this. Many times, many people get stuck on equipment and they get stuck on the what should I use? Should I use this special mic? Should I use that? Listen, perfection or perfectionism is the enemy of progress. Okay? Progress is always better anytime than perfectionism. What am I saying? Get that thing out rather than keeping it in and thinking, oh, I don't have this piece of equipment, I don't have that. I'd rather get started, fine-tune, perfect it as you go. That's my approach. All right. So, okay, let me see. All right. Okay, Jade says, what's great? What's a good length per episode? So a good length, I think, is about 10 to 15 minutes. So you stay focused, on what it is that you want to talk about. Also, people have a very short attention span right now. For you to go for an hour on a podcast, you have to be really engaging, and the people that want to hear from you really need to be your hardcore followers, because people don't have the time. See, even if your podcast episode is 5 minutes and they're powerful 5 minutes with good quality information, that's all good. See, so for me, I'll say 10, 12, 15 minutes. But of course, if you go all my podcasts, you'll find some half an hour or more. But that's okay. That's okay. Try and liberate yourself to do whatever. So let's talk about equipment. Again, don't get stuck on it. Don't get stuck. I don't have this microphone. I don't have this bit of kit. Listen, by just having, let me show you, because I didn't start podcasting this year. I used to podcast before. All I had, let me show you this, was just a, do you know these type-in microphones? I had one of these, okay? And I guess this was maybe 10 pounds, 10 pounds, maybe $15 or something like that on the internet. And I plugged this in to my phone, okay? And it had, my phone had an app for recording audio. And then of course I take that audio out from the phone and then I get it into my computer, and then of course edit it, and it sounds a lot better. This is what I used to do many years ago. All right, so this is one way that you can actually use just to record these short inspirational clips, short teaching clips and things like that, by just using that. Okay, now, but of course, if you have a bit of money to spend and you really want to, do it well, I then went on to use one of these. Okay, this is called a Blue Yeti microphone. Okay, I think it was about, maybe 100, 150, something like that. I can't remember. I've had a few for a while. And it's good because you can just put it on your desk and you can speak into it. It's omnidirectional, so it's pretty good. And the good thing with it as well, it can be connected to your PC or your Mac by a USB. So you don't need any special equipment. It just plugs straight into your computer. But I don't use this one anymore because I got another mic, all right, which I'll show you. Let me see if I can show you what I have right now. Okay, so what I have right now is called a pod mic. All right, so that's the pod mic. So brilliant because of the very good sound that it has. Of course, I've put one of those, to just stop the and the noises and whatever else on there, pod mic, and I don't know how much this was, but very, very good mic, particularly for podcasting. Okay, so of course you can use this and plug this into your system to make the sound really, really good and really, really crisp. Okay, and what I use that microphone. Let me just show you everything so that it makes sense. Right. I use it with okay, let me show you this. So this year I got a Rodecaster Pro. Okay, Rodecaster Pro. All right, so that's what I use for my actual podcasts. But again, I didn't start with this, and you don't actually need to have expensive, fancy equipment to start. You just need to use what you have and begin to build it up. As long as you can make sure that the sound is good and stuff like that. And the good thing with this is that this desk is amazing. It actually takes your voice. Just press a few settings, it makes it sound golden. It makes you sound like a millionaire, like $1 million. All right. So I recommend that if you want to maybe spend a bit of money in getting some equipment, but you really don't to start off with. Okay. So we talked about the equipment. Now let's talk about the software, because once you've done a recording, you need to edit it so that it sounds good. So with your editing, you may need to have a bit of an intro, a little bit of music, like a jingle, welcome to the Joe Benjamin podcast, just to make it sound profesh and all of that. So you will need a bit of a jingle, Some don't use jingles, intros. Some do. Some just get straight into it. I opted to kind of give you a cliffhanger. I say, like, for example, if you've ever listened to my podcast, you'll hear I'll say, have you ever wondered about this? So just to whet your appetite with what's coming, and then of course my whatever it is comes later. So you could actually certainly do that. Now, as it pertains to the software, the one that I'm currently using at the moment, it's free, and I can use it on a Mac, I can use it on the computer, on a PC. It's called Audacity. Audacity, simple, you can download it, it's free, and it's easy to use in terms of just clipping out. Sometimes there's some bits you want to clip out, or some bits you want to add in your podcast and things like that. Easy to use and clip out. But there is another one which is quite a good one as well. It's called Magix, with an X, Magix Music Maker. All right, again, it's free. You can download it, and you can use that for editing your clips before you upload them. Now, with Lisbon podcast platform, I can literally upload as many podcasts episodes as I like, and then they are automatically triggered out at a specific time. All right, they're triggered out at a specific time. See, so now all I have to do is market it. So, for example, when I know that my podcast I released 8 o'clock in the morning every Tuesday. So, but what I know that when I wake up in the morning, or I need to just do a Facebook post to say my podcast is out today, where I was talking about this, and then I continually begin to market and share in groups and stuff like that. Make sense? So, but I would have already done the work, days ago. I mean, when maybe beginning of the month, like for example, now tomorrow I'll be sitting down and I'll be planning my podcast for the whole of October, for the whole of this next month. So I need to get about 4 or 5 episodes down, record them, edit them, upload them into Lisbon, the podcast website, and Lisbon will literally release them on the day that I choose, and also share them to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and I think 20 more places, which is really amazing. But some people, they are like Spotify people, Android people. Others are like Apple on, iTunes and stuff like that. So, and I've had quite a bit of good feedback. I have a good friend in Canada who says he really appreciates the podcast. He says, I don't have time to watch your YouTube videos or be live with you, but I've got it on my phone that when your podcast comes, it pings and I get to listen to it when I'm driving on the go. It's connected to his phone and he listens to it on the go. I got a message on Instagram, a lady in the US who said, "Hi Joe, I've just been listening to your podcast." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Oh, what did you hear?" He says, "Oh, it's just so amazing, and I've been going through all the podcast episodes." Okay, and this is a different kind of audience from the Facebook people and the YouTube and stuff like that. So, and I believe that this can even be a platform for some to start. Because remember what I said, you need to have one main platform that you share your message and you begin to grow. Imagine there are people that have really been able to monetize their podcasts and make money, make a following, with their podcasts. And I don't see any reason why you can't, through sharing your message and blessing others with your advice and your wisdom. So I strongly recommend it, and for some, maybe you don't have a strong social media presence yet, but you can focus on getting those podcasts out, releasing them. And again, here's the thing. It may be that you're starting right now and you don't have followers, you don't have many people listening, but you are building a whole history and a whole library of things that people who are going to come to you in the next season of your life are going to be able to do. Wow, this is amazing content, and they'll start going back and back and back. And also, do you know what? There is a way that you can also, use or repurpose this content. See, if you've done a recording and things like, you can always repurpose it, make it even into a video. And you know what you can even do with those podcasts as well? Make them into a booklet. See, you can get all those audios, convert it into written or text, and produce a small booklet on all the subjects that you talked about, or chapters in a book, whatever. You see, so the time is now that you should at least start doing something, at least one thing, about the future that you want to move into. Let me say this. If you have a question, please feel free to ask. I'm done. But if you have a question, ask me the question before we close. Let me give you some advice. I was speaking some time back to one of my mentors. I've got a couple of mentors, actually 3 mentors, and one of my mentors, my business mentor, said this. They said that what you need to do is to think about where you see yourself in 2 to 5 years from now. Or think about what you want to do or to be in 2 to 3 years from now. Are you hearing this? Once you're clear about what that thing looks like, then what you need to do is to assume that persona, assume that role, begin to actually move into that place. Many people say, in 2 years' time, I'm going to start to teach people, and I'm going to start to write books, and I'm going to start to, see, that's fine. You've got nice, good goals in 2 years, 3 years' time, 5 years' time, that's fine. But the question is, what can you actually start to do now to move into that place? To start building that mailing list, to start writing the contents page of that chapter, of that book, to start, typing away. I know the book is going to be released in 5 years, we get it. But what can you actually do now to get to that goal? That is key. And when I learned that secret, I use it all the time. If ever I think of what do I really want to do? Okay, I feel God wants me to do this. All right, what can I do now to move into that place? And that thing really, really helped me in my life and my ministry. So thank you so much, messengers, for listening and following. I can't see any questions right here. If you have a question, please feel free to ask the question right now, so that I can deal with your questions and I can answer them. If not, feel free to key your questions in there. Let me say this to you again, messengers, your voice shall be heard. And podcasting is one of the ways you can get your voice to be heard. I want to help you. Listen, I said I can certainly help you throughout the whole process. Don't hesitate to text me or message me or drop a message in the group so that I can help you to do what it is you need to do. I appreciate you so much, and keep sharing your voice, keep sharing your message. One of these days, you are going to get thousands upon thousands of people that are really going to be impacted by what it is that you do. I appreciate you guys. You take